Hello, everybody. Hope you like the creepy music for Halloween. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I'm your host, BMR. I'll be joined today with the lovely Jessica Jones for a little Halloween treat for you here today. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and hit the alert bell. Share out the channel. You can find us on YouTube at Texas Front Porch and Bigfoot Michigan Rob channel. Additionally, you can find us on Odyssey and iHeartRadio, along with KPNL Radio. Thank you to the lovely Selene out in Oregon for that. We're wherever podcasts are found, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Spreaker. We're on Facebook at Texas Front Porch. You can email us at paircrypticencounters@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube to Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and of course, my co-host, Jessica Jones, the cryptid huntress. If you like and want to support us, the super chat is open. Also, the super thanks at the end of the shows is now open, available on replay. All of our support links can be found in our channels. Go to the About sections and the description sections and check it out. And please enjoy our show today. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to fade out the music and bring up my co-host for the evening. Or the day, I should say. All the days run together for me, Jessica, you know?
I know, me too, Rob. I feel ya.
You know, but hence, we move forward. And thanks for joining me here today for this kind of Halloween special. I kind of purposely didn't want to guest today. You know, we do guests every day. And certainly you and I can carry a show. And I think it'd be fun today. And Halloween, I always call Halloween like a holiday anyways. So for me, this is kind of like a break, it's a time off. And so with that, Jessica, what you got going on?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, of course, I have a whole bunch of shows going on. What's new with that? You know, I have a kid. So.
You got run the shows. You got your kid. You know.
Yeah. Well, I've got a kid, so we're going to be doing some trick or treating, of course. And maybe some trunk or treats, maybe some neighborhood stuff. I don't know.
Now, did you just say trunk or treat? Are you looking for dead bodies?
Oh man,
I thought you said trunk or treat. I'm thinking
it is trunk or treats. That's what you do. That's the safe thing to do these days. Okay, because it's crazy out in these streets. Okay?
When I hear trunk, I hear dead bodies and kidnappings.
Trunk or treat? No, it's where a lot of the churches around here. I live in a pretty, a small. It used to be super small community, but it's in these communities out here, we a lot of the churches will have a trunk or treat where people go and decorate their cars or just open up their trunks and have candy, and they pass out candy. The kids go from car to car in a parking lot and get candy from people at the churches and stuff. It's a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot of fun. I've never heard that before. Yeah. So you learn something new every day.
Oh yeah. Well, it's for a lot of parents, it may not feel very safe going out at night with their kids anymore. We just live in a weird time right now. So it's a safe thing. It's a safe bet.
It is a safe thing. And not to get too personal, your son is what? He's in middle school.
He's 8. He's in second grade.
Oh, well, he looks so
he's
grown
a
up.
Kid. He's a little kid.
I say he is mature beyond his years because, I first met him. Remember when we were in Alabama?
Yes.
And that he was like a little man.
He is.
He was following me around. I bought him a Coke, a bag of Doritos or something. And then he wound up getting a whole bunch of free stuff. He had all these,
he uses his looks to his advantage, doesn't he? He's big eyes.
He's a handsome little kid, and I tell you, he's got a whip of a mind. He reminds me of me. I was a businessman for a while, right? And your son, he follows in my footsteps, although he don't really know me, but he's cool as hell. I enjoyed my time with him, back where in Alabama. So
yeah, he liked you too. He liked all of y'all, and he especially liked Charlie Raymond from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization, and his wife and their dog Whiskey. I think he really had a good time. Yeah,
I think he actually Didn't he actually get one of the figurines
He
of
did.
Charlie?
Well, I don't know. He came home with this. I don't know where this came from. So, whoever gave my son this, thank you. I don't know where that came from, but
Yeah.
somebody gave it to him. Yeah, and I stole it, so now I have it. It's my background
Yeah, there you go.
decoration.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, he's excited about Halloween this year, and it's it's going to be fun. He can't decide what he wants to dress up like. He goes from one costume to the next, and I guess we'll find out on Halloween what he's going to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of Halloween and the dangers of Halloween, this is a little story. I was a little kid. I was maybe 10 years old, and I remember my mom and dad took me and my brother to their friend's house, and it was actually Halloween. And back during the day, they lived like on a big farm property, but it was surrounded by a lot of woods. And so we're playing in the front yard. Me and my brother, my friend Mike, this girl Beth Ann, and a couple other kids. It was getting close to sunset, and as I mentioned, there was a lot of trees that surrounded this place. So my dad, he comes out to the front yard where we're all playing, and he goes, "Hey kids, I gotta show you something in the backyard that's really neat." So we all get to the back of the house, and mind you, in my hand, I had a machete, and it wasn't plastic; it was real. And we were just we were going through some brush and just chopping it down, exploring. So again, keep in mind, machete in hand, my dad takes us to the back of the house. So there was this big oak tree in the back of the house. So the three of us kids, myself, my brother Mike, Beth Ann, a couple other kids, were my dad. Now all of a sudden, my dad like disappears. So all of a sudden, out from behind this giant oak tree,
Oh God, I know where this is going.
this creature jumps out in front of us with a werewolf mask on.
And
And
you
this
have a
is,
machete in
and
your
I have
hand.
a machete.
Oh wow, not good.
But at first, what I do is we all just ran because it really scared us. We were very scared. So we're running. So the guy, and now of course it was my dad's buddy, right? He is chasing us to the front yard. I remember tripping and falling over. They had these like logs that lined their driveway. Again, it's like in the middle of nowhere, and I trip over it. I fall down. I kind of do a somersault. Machete is still in my hand. I can't believe that I didn't cut myself or lose it. I get up, and this guy, he's on top of me. I don't think he thinks that the machete is real. I jump up. Now, mind you, I'm a kid. I think this is a monster because back in the days, I believe in monsters.
Hmm.
In fact, today I still do.
Me too.
You know, I get up and I swing this thing at this guy, and I hit him in the front chest, and it ripped through the coat that he's wearing, but the coat was padded because he made himself look really big. So this
Oh
machete
my.
went 3 inches slashed right through the coat.
Oh
It didn't touch
my.
his body. All of a sudden, my dad jumps from wherever he was spying on us. Robbie, drop the machete. That's Uncle Mickey. It's not a monster.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
he rips off his mask to show him it's me because I'm ready for round two. And I said, "Oh my God." I thought I killed him too, because I just know I hit him and I
Ooh.
could feel the pressure ripping through this. And
Yeah.
yeah, he takes off this big coat with all this padding, and it went literally 3 inches deep.
Oh my
Another
God.
another inch, it would have lacerated his chest.
Imagine if you had gone and hit his throat or his face.
Well,
Man.
yeah, or his privates, because obviously I was all of
Oh my
4 foot
God.
tall probably at the time, and he was like, so
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
low. It was right in the belly area. It's either I would have got his privates, or I'm lucky I didn't lunge forward and jab at him. Because if I'd have
Yeah.
jabbed at him, it would have went deeper than 3 inches.
Well, he
So
was a lucky man
he
that
was
day.
lucky.
You gotta watch these kids. You don't know what kind of weapons. I mean, my son, he knows knife safety, okay, and
Okay.
he knows pocket knife safety, and he has a tomahawk and some things, that we use when we go camping and things like that. So yeah, but no, on Halloween night, I would not allow him to take any of that outside the house. It does not go outside our backyard, actually. So that could be very dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine that. And today it's like, boy, it's and then I thought I talked to you last week or something about back when I was growing up, there was, most of the people say it was myth and well, not really true, but we had for about a year or two, the news was always reporting about people that would poison candy or put
Mhm.
needles or razor blades in like apples.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, I told my mom, "Oh, don't worry about me, sucking down no apple and catching a razor blade because when I got apples in my bag, I just, fed the
Yeah,
squirrels. You know what I mean?
exactly.
What a boring thing to get as a kid. An apple,
Yeah.
fruit. Who the hell gets fruit on Halloween?
Yeah. I know. There's you would avoid those houses when you're a kid. You
You
know that
learn
that
to.
lady's going to give out bananas. Let's don't go there.
Yeah, and we do learn as kids really quickly. We find out when we get older where the cool neighborhoods are because you knew
Yeah.
the houses gave up pennies, they gave up bags of chips and fruit. And then when we got older, we started going to, hey, my dad, or usually my dad, take us to the rich neighborhood because they give out big candy bars.
Yeah. Well, in my hometown here, when you can't even really walk on the sidewalks, there's so many people in the downtown district of the town that I live in. And there's a lot of historical houses up and down the streets for, a mile or so. And on Halloween, I mean, each house gives out, I mean, it's literally hundreds of dollars worth of candy at each house. And there's kids lined up down the street. It's like a total traffic jam up and down the streets on Halloween. So, yeah, I try to stay kind of local, or go to a birthday, or not a birthday party, a Halloween party or something. Try to stay away from all that
Yeah,
craziness. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you about a couple of your favorite Halloween stories before we get going. Before I do, I'm not typing today, but I'm going to give some quick shout outs. Gary Spikes, Gene Hudson, Wes, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, what's he doing there? Gene, the Cryptid Huntress, Laura, Joe Weeks, Bob Van Buren. Who else we got here early? World Bigfoot Radio, Duke Sullivan. Hi, Jack. Hi, Cryptid 559. Who else we got? Jessica McCreary. C. Duke. Hi, C. Duke. I know who you are. Who else do we got? Wink at me, Jack, Janet Sanchez, a whole bunch of you. If I missed you, sorry. I love you all. Thanks for joining us on our little special today. We had nothing planned, no guests. It's me and Jess going to kick back and shoot the BS. So, moving forward, Jessica, what's one of your favorite Halloween stories?
Oh my gosh. Well, I got to tell you. Okay, so yesterday I did a show with.
Yeah.
I brought Barry Littleton on for my daytime show, and we were going to talk about shapeshifters. And so
Okay.
that's what we talked about, reptilians and skinwalkers. Okay,
Oh, cool.
and it was a great show. I had a lot of fun. But this morning when I got up, I was checking the channel. I always have to check my channel out, and I guess YouTube had put one of those context boxes underneath my video, and they wanted to make sure that anyone who watched my video didn't take reptilian humanoids out of context. Okay, which I thought was really weird. Why would YouTube worry about how people look at reptilian humanoids, Rob? Out of
Yeah,
all the videos that we do, why would they pick that? It was between that and the Apollo moon landing. Those are the only two that I've gotten context boxes under.
yeah, and it's very strange too because we do talk about weirder stuff than that on
Yeah.
all these shows across the board that we have, and backstage. Yeah, I remember the Apollo moon landing. You got a whole bunch of contact on that, I should say,
Yeah, it was
and
weird. Yeah.
just the other day I saw a Netflix show on the Apollo moon landing. How they said we did not go to the moon. How they said we were by the moon, we landed, but there was creatures, aliens that told us not to come back. They said that there was all sorts of on the dark side of the moon. There was buildings, there was cities, and and they talked about all this on a Netflix show, and you just talking about on dumb YouTube, right?
Yeah.
We're to talk about this, and you get called out by some higher up. That was
Well,
amazing.
it was the Wikipedia context, just
Mm,
so we don't get it twisted, everybody.
yeah,
Reptilian humanoids, they have been do not take them out of context.
yeah, reptilian humanoids.
But it makes you wonder, like, what's the big deal about that? And now I'm looking at them a little more suspiciously because of that. I mean, and I guess they don't want us to figure out that the moon is actually made of cheese or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or it's it's hollow. It's hollow, right?
It's made out of Swiss cheese. Yes, that's the big secret that they're hiding from us.
And there's also there's either an alien base inside the moon, or we have our own base inside the moon. There's
It's
so many
weird, right?
theories out there. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's still very interesting to talk about.
It is. It is. But yeah, but we talked about that yesterday, and
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool conversation. Talking about skinwalkers and how it's, people embodying the animals to become the animal, and that's what a skinwalker is. And that can include dogman and werewolves and stuff like that. So um
Yeah.
yeah.
On Jason's show last night, we were talking a little bit about Dogman, and we had another guest on with us, and that's the one thing I can never quite wrap my hands around. And before we get into that, that reminds me, I this guy Larry, I did a video. I posted it yesterday or the day before about Larry and the Dogman encounter, and the Dogman took the life of his dog Rex. And Larry has been he's been getting in touch with me. He's a subscriber of the show. He goes by Larry. I don't know I'm not going to say who his handle is. First of all, he wants me to tell everybody that listens to the show, everybody in chat, the support and the warm words that you guys left in the comments for that show. That show, it's an 8-minute video that I shot. I read his encounter. Basically, a dog man or something, some creature took Larry's dog and left a body part on his front stairs. If you haven't
Oh,
seen the video,
that's terrible.
go check it out. Give Larry some love. I'm not even self promoting me. It's more for Larry because I told Larry, look, if it helps you, I will read this. And he's messaged me like 20 times thanking me. So Larry, again, if you're watching, that was for you. Hopefully it helps you with your trauma. And this happened just last summer in June. So thanks to everybody for giving Larry the support. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, that's really sad. Very sad. And it's a harsh kind of reality that some people live with, that they encounter when they have Sasquatches or any kind of big cryptid or inhumanoid, whatever you want to call them, living around their property. They don't like small animals or animals that are smaller than them sometimes.
Yeah. And too, when I did that story that he emailed to me, and thinking back, we've been doing this a while, Jessica, and really when I come across Dogman encounters people send in, or I do my own personal research on it,
Mhm.
there's really not a lot of malicious intent with the Dogman. I think the Dogman likes to scare people for sure, but you never hear about, well, it's limited, right? The amount of things, like I remember a show about a dog man supposedly killing a horse, but you really don't hear much death. It's more of a kind of like a Halloween. Dog man does remind me of the ultimate Halloween creature because, in my opinion, he's just there to scare you, but you never hear about anything like I reported to the other day. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, well, Dogman and werewolves are very popular right now as far as Halloween decor goes. I've ridden by several houses that had, I mean, Home Depot must have had a special
Yeah.
or something because there's big, like 9-foot tall werewolves, 7-foot tall werewolves and dogmen in people's yards this year. I had never seen that before. It's impressive. I like it.
Down the street from me, there's a 9-foot tall skeleton. And it's funny though. Growing up as a kid, my favorite show was the Werewolf. Remember Lon Chaney?
Mhm.
You might. I think I was about 5 or 6 when I saw it. My dad first showed me that, and that was my favorite monster growing. That was my go-to growing up, and then of course Dracula.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like Dracula. We just did that show about vampires last week, which turned out to not be a vampire.
Yeah.
The vampire of Mineral Point, Wisconsin, I believe, and
Yeah.
it was it. I never found any reports of it biting anybody, but it was hopping out of a tree and scaring people. So that was interesting.
Yeah, and that's what threw me off about vampire, because I think I was on that with you, right? Yeah, and I remember it was funny that usually a vampire, yeah, this thing will supposedly bite people and hop, 10 feet away on top of a roof or to get away, and it's like there ain't no vampire I know that hops. They just kind of mysteriously vanish.
Right.
They don't have to escape from anybody.
Yeah. Well, we had made that connection to Spring Heel Jack out of
Yes,
Europe.
correct.
During the Victorian era, there was an entity, a man or something, that was kind of terrorizing London for a while, and kind of it was going after women, and what it would do, it would spring into the air, 10 feet into the air and jump over buildings and over fences. And that's kind of what this vampire in Wisconsin was reported to do. And so there was definitely a connection there. But it was also weird because people had reported Spring Hill Jack as wearing a helmet, but they also reported him as being the devil. So why would the devil wear a helmet?
I can see the devil laid out in armor. I mean, come on. If you're
Yeah,
the devil, please, what type of devil is that? Maybe that was a
that doesn't make
newbie. Maybe
sense.
it was a newbie demon. Didn't know any better. I have no
Yeah,
idea now.
he was a, what do you call it, a neophyte
A
devil.
neophyte,
I don't know.
a
Yeah.
neophyte devil.
He was the novice. He was the new guy on the block, learning how to spring into action. But if
Yeah.
you're already dead, why would you need? I mean, I don't know if the devil's dead. I don't know. It may not be like that.
You know,
If you're a spirit, why would you need a helmet?
yeah, you can't be hurt. You know, it's like going to
Yeah.
a ghost hunting session with a gun. What the hell are you doing? It don't make no sense, right?
I mean, some people carry a gun everywhere they go.
Now
So,
I can see
I don't know what
packing.
you're going to shoot. I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
ghosts that are solid, just like a regular human, though, that
Yes.
instances that weren't actually there, but they were. I mean, it's like I didn't touch them, so I don't know for sure, but their bodies were solid, just like ours.
Yeah. Well, as you recall, Jessica, I seen a ghost in my bar. Right? Remember,
Hmm.
I told a story about. I closed up late at night. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, and typically, a lot of the my workers they would stay around, have a few drinks before they locked up. And typically, I didn't lock up at night unless we didn't have staff. So I'd go in because typically it would be my cook and it'd be a couple of the girls. So the one night I locked up, I went down the office doing paperwork, and now my office was creepy. I had to go down these creaking stairs to the basement, and I'm doing paperwork, and I hear something going on up the stairs, right up by the bar. I had two bar areas. I had one that looked like it was a square bar, it looked like Cheers, and then another in the back, a longer one. So I go up, I look around, I say, "Hey, who's here?" I go check all the doors. All the doors are locked. I don't see anything. I go back in the basement to the office, and once again, I hear this noise, but now it sounds like people talking. So I go up the stairs, and as I had made mention, for those of you that did not hear it, at the corner of the bar there was four apparitions. Two men, two women. They looked like they were from the gangster area. Now, this bar that I bought was very old, and in fact, it was there during Prohibition. And these people, two women, looked like flappers. The other two people were dressed like John Dillinger type gangsters, right? And they're sitting there, minding their own business, chit chatting. I can't make out what they're saying, but I know under their breaths they're talking. But I can see completely through them. I see through them to the other side of the bar. And it was eerie because I know that the bar, first of all, that was eerie. To make it even crazier, there was a bottle of Jack Daniels sitting on the bar top and a bottle of wine. The wine was in front of the women. The Jack Daniels bottle was in front of the two men. And one of the shot glasses was half full, and one of the wine glasses was half full. The top was off the bottle of whiskey, and the wine, the cork was out. And I know for a fact I put that all away. Now, of course, I'm looking at four ghosts as well, right? So I'm like,
Hmm.
so I'm not scared for some reason. So I say, hey, and they're ignoring me. Like, as if they're dismissing me, like, hey, we want nothing to do with you. Let us have a good old time. So now I get closer to them, and now all of a sudden I start pounding my hand on top of the bar. Now, mind you, I'm about 20 feet away. I don't want to get too much closer. And then the women continue to do their thing, chit chatting, and the two guy ghosts dressed in their John Dillinger outfits look at me. And the craziest thing, that ghostly arm and hand, transparent, came out, and I see the shot glass raised in the air.
Wow. That's
It's
so wild.
it is
Just think
just
about the dimensions kind of overlapping right there.
oh my lord, and it's
The past and
suspend
the present, everything colliding all at once. They
yeah
say that time is just an illusion and
time,
past,
time
present, future, it's all happening right
it's
now.
all happening in the past,
Yeah.
present, and future. You've got an object, a concrete object, in an inanimate object, I guess you would call the ghost, but it's in the air and it looks like his hand is wrapped around it, but you can see through it, except the glass is solid. And I'm kind of creeped out. And then the glass, this is the strange part. The glass slips out of this ghost's hand, hits the top of my bar top, I should say.
Mhm.
And if anybody knows what a shot glass is, they're very thick. You can drop one on the floor, they don't break typically. You might get a chip around the edge or the top of it, but not the bottom. And this was a wood bar top, about suspended a foot in the air, and when it hit the top of the bar, it shattered, and the whiskey would disperse all about the bar. The ghosts look at me, and then they fade away. And the crazy thing when they faded away is they look like these young people from the 1920s.
Mhm.
And when they faded away, they got older to skeleton shape and just kind of were gone.
Wow, they morphed.
Yes.
Wow.
I tell you what, that I had a Bigfoot encounter, as we know, is pretty traumatic and
Mhm.
scary. I don't know that this was scary, but it was probably the coolest thing I ever saw.
Wow. That would have been like watching a movie or something. You
You
were by
know,
yourself. That's old bars always creep me out. I used
yeah.
to hang out at a few of them back when I was younger, and I my friends were all bartenders. All my best girlfriends were bartenders at all the different bars and clubs around Atlanta, and so I used to go hang out with them sometimes when they were closing down, and it could be very creepy in some of those old buildings late at night like that. I couldn't imagine. I wouldn't want to have
I
been there seeing that.
I'm glad I saw it. And then the next day I tell the story thinking to my employees that they were saying, "Oh, Rob, come on, we know you could tell a good tale." And I thought, should I tell them? They might think I'm BSing them or something. And then all of a sudden, many of the employers are telling me, "Hey, Rob, we see ghosts in here all the time. We didn't bother to tell you because we didn't want to get fired thinking that we're losing it." And they would say that they would clean off bar tops, the tables, completely wiped down before they went home at night. And again, they would go in the basement to do paperwork. When they would come up, there would be beer bottles on the bar, on tables, where they knew for a fact that they put it away. And I believe that they did because they were great employees. And they were there. And then there would be breaking dishes in the kitchen, just like you hear a lot of these famous
Opa.
restaurants. Yeah,
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
they're having fun.
and here's the thing, I wasn't scared of it. I more or less embraced it. That's the only
Yeah.
time I had an encounter. But of course, every time I would go working late at night, I would always hear creepy noises that I think now that I manifested in my own head because of what I'd seen,
Maybe.
but maybe
Yeah.
not. I didn't bother going up anymore. I just got the hell out of there at night and went home, and that was that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, these days you could get a group to go in there and investigate it, like Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters, you
You
know.
know, and I tell you, I sold the bar back prior to COVID, and I never told, I never disclosed the information to.
But these days that would bring in a lot of business.
Yes, it
It
would,
really does. It's
and
a it's
I,
a big business, especially with people that have haunted hotels and bed and breakfast and
you know, you
all
read
that
my
stuff.
mind, Jessica, because I wish I'd have hung on to it. Now, hence, in retrospect, unfortunately, I sold it right before this all broke out. Unfortunately, the guy that bought it from me, they went out of business, and it's an eyesore now. I look at this big building, and it's
Oh,
overgrown with weeds. I checked on maybe inquiring about getting it back, but it's something. Look,
man.
when I decide to quit something, I quit it. I don't turn back.
Yeah.
But you're right about remarketing it as a haunted bar, and I'll,
Yeah.
and that's actually a great idea. But I'm not going to do it, but hopefully somebody else will maybe do it, and I'll talk with them about it.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine the kind of money people bringing in on haunted stuff. We talked about that haunted hill house out in Texas that Tex and Bob and Randy went to, and those people have to be making a killing. Pardon the pun.
Well, it's Halloween.
Right.
You know,
Um,
I bet they do.
mhm. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of have I hate to say this, I kind of have an issue with haunted locations like that, though, that are become tourist attractions, because I feel like people are making money off of people's souls that may be trapped, that haven't been able to get into the light, or they're being held captive or whatever on the other side.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that.
I'm not either.
So,
And in fact, I remember you speaking on that some time back that you weren't a big fan, nor am I, about the children involved, right?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's just profiting off of suffering of
Mm,
souls, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
And
I
then I
just
wonder then I wonder too, half these shows we see on TV. Now here we are cryptid people, but
yeah.
we're into everything, right?
Well,
But
my thing's Bigfoot. I'm out in
you
the
know,
woods. I don't
Bigfoot,
I
you're
don't
in a
trap anything. It's trying to trap me.
yeah, absolutely. And it
Right.
just makes me wonder about these ghost channels.
Yeah.
How it makes it kind of for people that are serious about it, that research it, it kind of taints the image and makes everything think that it's not real. When in fact we both know it is real.
Mhm.
A lot of these people are out just to make money and profit on a show, and they probably write a script that sounds cool, which is totally phony.
Well, I have a question for you, Rob.
Yes.
What do you think about haunted houses that for like the Halloween type of haunted houses that aren't actually really haunted, but they're there to scare you and you pay a lot of money to go to them? What do you think about those during Halloween season?
So you're talking about a house.
Like a
Yes.
haunted, like the nether in Atlanta we have Netherworld
Yes.
and Camp Blood and all
Yeah.
these places like that where you pay to go get scared.
You know what? I know you're not going to like my answer because I think you're hedging towards you don't like it. I think it's cool. I've done it before.
I think it's cool too. I don't like going there, but I think those are cool.
I
Yeah.
went to the last time I did that was about 5 years ago, and I went to the inner city of Detroit, which is scary enough on Halloween. They finally stopped burning down the city on Devil's Night, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
fabulous.
Took a night off. Okay.
And so I went into a rundown, dilapidated funeral parlor.
Ooh.
I and the guy that was the host was very creepy, and he was not even dressed up. He had no costume. He
That's
looked
even
like
creepier, huh?
he looked like he was, from the dawn of the dead or something.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we're
That would
going,
have been weird.
and it was like $15 to go through this thing, and they only let in like 5 people at a time. So I was with me and a group of friends. I think there was like 8 of us, so we couldn't all go together. I tell you what, I did not see anything, nothing. But I tell you what, I did
Something to come
not
home with
like.
you though?
What I did not like is I did have this sense of dread in the pit of
Yeah.
my stomach. I mean, to me, it felt like something was going on, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I saw no ghosts. I heard no noises, no
That's weird.
shadows, but I felt like this ain't normal.
There's something ain't right.
And when I got
Right?
home
Something
that
ain't
night,
right.
And when I got home that night, you know what I dreamt about all night long?
Oh my gosh, probably demons or something. What?
Demons, coffins, and death.
Okay, that was a bad idea. I
That
don't know
was
if I would have gone to
terrible.
that.
That was
Yeah.
terrible.
And, I actually had an experience when I was in high school. There's a place out in I grew up in West Georgia, and there's a place called Camp Blood. I'm not positive. I think they still do Camp Blood every Halloween.
Yeah.
But it's out in the woods, and it's just like a haunted forest, and you paid to get in there. It was like $10 a person back then or something.
Yeah.
And so we were the first group to go. Me and a bunch of my girlfriends loaded up in my friend's Suburban, back in the 90s. And we hopped in and we all got out, and they were only.
You had a Suburban back in the 90s.
My friend had a Suburban.
Oh, okay.
I drove a Bronco too. All right.
Let's not
I
even
had a
go
Bronco
there.
too. Eddie Bauer edition.
Don't tell me anymore about the Bronco too.
It was a 1987 model. Okay. So anyways,
yeah.
It was awesome. So we loaded up in the Suburban, and we went out to Camp Blood, and we were excited about it. We were all looking cute.
Right.
We didn't dress for the occasion. We were in high school.
And
so we got there, and it had been raining all day. Okay. Yeah. So you know where this is going. It had been raining all day, and they were only going to take like 10 people at a time, but there was like 15 of us or something. I mean, it was maybe they were taking 5 at a time, and there was like 10 or 12 of us. And we begged. We were like, hey, we're all together. Please let us go together. And so they let us all go together in one big group. And we were the first crew in there that night. And as we walked through, I was in the very front of the line. Nobody wanted to go first. So of course I did. I didn't care. So I was walking in the front, and it was a little scary. I'm not going to lie. And somebody was kind of guiding us through the woods, and all these people were jumping out and scaring us and hopping out of trees. And when we're least expecting it, somebody with a chainsaw jumped out from behind the group and goes with the chainsaw, and all the girls pushed as hard as they could up, and they were trying to get to the front of the line. Well, guess who was at the front of the line? Me. So as they pushed, it was like a set of dominoes, and I was walking up a hill that was muddy, and so they literally pushed me down and ran over on top of me onto the mud, and I was just covered from head to toe in mud. I was laying on the ground by the time it was all over, and there was a guy with a chainsaw standing over me.
Oh, jeez.
And I just decided to scream at him and said some horrible things to him. And I was like, this is all your fault. I trudged through the mud all the way back to the Suburban, and I had to take my clothes off before I even got in the Suburban. I remember that. They would not let me get in the car until I took my clothes off because I was covered in mud.
Oh,
yeah. It was so bad. So
I'd like to have seen that. Jessica covered in mud.
But another funny thing about that is there was a line going down the road of people waiting to get inside, and over half those people turned around and left when they saw me.
Oh, no kidding.
They were like, this isn't worth that. They're like, look at her. Oh my God.
Oh,
covered in mud. They thought I was part of the Camp Blood staff.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah.
We talk about these places that aren't out to scare you. Like you just have a haunted, like I went to that funeral, and what you're talking about, the Camp Blood. There was something back when I was probably in my 20s, and I don't think that you could get away with this today.
Okay.
I live not too far from the Detroit River, and along the Detroit River, there are a multitude of like islands. Most of them are inhabited. There's one island called Grosseal, which I love, but that's for the rich, But there's a lot of these islands that are sizable, but they're, again, uninhabited. Well, and you have to take a ferry. For Halloween night, they had a haunted island. And what they did was they dropped you off on this island. The island, and they said, and there was nobody else on this island to scare you. But you know what was on this island that I guess they imported from?
Oh, God.
They dropped you off for 45 minutes. And they gave, like, back in the day, they had like these two-way radios out. The cell phones were still out, but not as good as they are today. But they gave the leader, in your group, they picked out a leader, and they gave you the one-way, two-way band radio. These guys would drop you off. They would leave, and they would give one person, again, this bandwidth radio. And it was $50 to go on this island. And they said if you could make it the full 45 minutes, we would we would refund your money. And we're like, oh hell yeah, we'll do this.
Okay, it'd be free in the
Yeah,
end, right?
yeah,
Free 93.
free in the end.
Right.
And again, we were younger in our 20s, so we were dressed probably again, like kids like you do, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have boots on. We were looking probably like you were. This entire island was covered with rats, snakes, and spiders. I do not do spiders.
Do you have on sandals? That's the question. What kind of shoes were you
It
wearing?
was Halloween. I think I had a pair of the leather Nikes. Remember that old Nike leather came out with the swoosh on the side?
Oh yeah.
I can't believe I still remember. I had
the
those
nice
on.
ones.
Yeah.
Those were fancy. That's when you go into a fancy dinner or something, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Church. Go to church in those.
And we were with girls too. It was
so
like
you were probably screaming like a girl in front of those girls.
Oh, I talk about mud and this. Yeah, I was spiders. No, I don't do spiders. Rats, I don't do rats. Snakes, for some reason don't bother me.
I had a pet snake, but I still don't like snakes in the wild. I'm not a fan.
So we're running, and this place was all muddy, and literally, it was mosquitoes. We're running around. The girls are slipping and falling, muddy, getting their dresses, whatever, all mudded up. It was not even 15 minutes. Rob, you use that 2-way and call those guys. Get us the hell out of here. So it was not a free trip. And and I was pissed off, covered in mud. I think the girl that I took was my first date. I never heard from her again.
No, I don't blame her, actually. What kind of date is that? Well, these days they have places that you can go to. I think it's called McKay Manor. Okay. Yeah. And you can see these commercials on TV, and they're on, Halloween channels and stuff. But you have to do like a psychological evaluation before you go to those places, because it's your worst nightmare. It's worse than your worst nightmare. One of my friends sent me something about it the other day, and he was like, would you go to this? And I was like, hell to the no. They're talking about how they'll even tattoo you really? Against your will and stuff. Like, oh, no why way. Would anybody want to do that? Why? It's violent.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And I don't know. So my life is so wild, and I do things that are really scary naturally, like going out and Bigfooting
for sure,
and sitting in the woods by myself in the middle of the night, being bait for Sasquatch and stuff. I don't need that kind of psychological terror of, human psychological terror. I'm already good. I'm good.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. When you go in the woods to do your investigations and your research, a lot of creepy things happen. I'm with you. Today, I'm not going to go pay to be scared.
I don't need to pay for that crap. Okay, my life has been rough in some ways. So I've experienced people with psychological problems in my life that tried to cause a lot of angst and things in my life. I don't need to go pay for that. Okay.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. We're good. But other people, you know what? As a lot of people enjoy that. And so that's good. Good for them. But not me. I'm good.
No, growing up, we loved it. We loved getting scared. As I said, it was kind of a cool thing, especially way back when I almost killed my uncle with a machete. And then ever since then, I was like, wow, but I was like, as I said earlier, I like the thrill. And I kind of, when he did that, it set me off as, I like getting scared. And today, I don't. Today, no, because it happens too often naturally, half the time.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think your uncle that could have been really bad, Rob.
I could,
I can't believe I've not heard that story before. That's whew.
Well, I got stories, but I say
my son would have done the same thing. If my son were there in your position, he would have probably gone for the throat.
I think your son would have. Well, he'd have been too short, but I think he would have lunged forward in a stabbing motion, where I went with a slicing motion.
You think my son's a stabber?
Yeah,
he would have stabbed. He probably would have had a weapon in both hands. Okay, knowing my kid.
Yeah,
So
I see the video that you put out the other day with your son along the lake. You had the gun shooting it.
It was his Nerf gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool though.
Yeah.
He's a riot.
He's got more Nerf guns than any kid that I've ever known. Ever. I don't know a whole lot of kids, I guess, but yeah, I have to clean them up every day. I'm always picking up Nerf guns and Nerf bullets. Oh my god! And sometimes I get shot in the face with one of those Nerf bullets. It's usually an accident. It's not fun.
No,
Not fun at all.
not at all. Now I've heard most of your research and stuff like that. There's anything that I haven't heard about, Jessica, over the years that kind of scared you?
Um, I mean, haunted places probably scare me more than the woods, like haunted houses and stuff like that. When I was in high school, there were two places to go when we were growing up. Okay, in high school and in college. Okay, we had a
Mhm.
ghost road down at. I went to college down in South Georgia.
Yeah.
There's a place called Ghost Road. That was pretty scary. You could actually drive through this ghost. It was on a road, literally. That's why they call it Ghost Road. Duh. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
but when I was in high school, there was a place called Pigman's. Okay, and that place was terrifying. And the story behind Pigman's was there was a man who had killed his family. Okay, so it's always a person who kills their family, in these haunted houses.
Oh, of
And
course.
whether the story's true or not, I was not sure. But there was the story went, if you go out in the middle of the night to Pigman's house, he'll chase you out he'll run out from behind his house, and it's like a man that's like a half pig, half man. And he snorts and you can hear it. And it's really scary. But if you go into his house, the front flooring of the front living room is all gone, where they had to open up the boards and dig down inside the car, inside the house and into the ground to pull out the bodies where he buried his family. So I went a couple of times, and yeah, it was very scary. And so I went one day. I took a crew of my friends that were doing this mass media project, and we filmed. We filmed a story at Pigman's, and when we walked into the house in the daytime, yeah, the floor had been cut out, and yeah, it had been dug down into, and we found someone had apparently actually killed their family in this
Oh
house.
my gosh.
Yeah, so the story wasn't totally false. So yeah, it
So
was weird. But yeah, that was scary. Very
yeah,
scary.
that is scary. And I'm haunted houses. Yes, I'm with you. And I just thought of something here. What's your thoughts? I know it's kind of a bit of a controversial subject. I read this book, believe it or not, in fifth grade. I had no business reading. It was called The Amityville Horror.
My cousin was actually in that movie, the Amityville Horror, the newer make of it.
It wasn't Ronnie,
She was the
was it?
little. No, my cousin Chloe played the little girl in the Amityville Horror movie.
Really?
It was one with Ryan Reynolds in it. Yeah.
Oh, that's the newer one, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the newer one.
Yeah, that's one I don't watch no more, and I also don't watch The Exorcist with Linda Blair. I finally watched it for the first time last year.
Yeah,
And,
I don't like watching that stuff because that stuff really happened.
it really
Yeah.
happened, and I'm a believer today that you can manifest these things through even technology. I do.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I try not to watch ghost shows anymore and stuff like that, because a lot of them have turned very dark. The one with my buddy Zach there, I used to love watching that show, and I still do like watching it occasionally, but I have to mute it because they're doing rituals and like chanting and stuff could potentially bring stuff into your house. So you got to be really careful about that.
Yeah, and back to the Amityville Horror. What's your opinion? I know you've probably researched it or maybe read about it. You think that really happened? I
Mhm.
think the murder happened for sure. That's documented. But what about? Because I tell you what, that's one hell of those events that took place in that home with the demonic forces was something that I would not want to mess with. Do you think that really did happen, or do you think it was
Yeah.
sensationalized through media and television?
I mean, it's probably a little bit of both, but yeah, I think it really happened. Isn't there's records of it, right? I mean,
Well, there's
and
records of the murder, and
yeah,
there might be records of some of the hauntings. I don't think there's any records
you're
of the
talking about
priest
the possession and all that kind of stuff.
possession. Yeah.
Yes, I do believe that stuff happens. And there's actually a documentary. Speaking of Zach and the ghost shows, they did a show called Demon House, and I've watched that. And there's actual documentation of a family that had experienced a lot of paranormal activity at their home out in, I think it was in want to say Detroit, actually. And they call this the Demon House. And in this documentary, they interviewed people that worked at the hospital staff. These kids were seemingly possessed by something that had some kind of dark entity that was there at the house. And the kids started fighting, and CPS got called in, and they took the kids to the hospital. And the hospital staff, the child protective lady, the police officer, they watched this kid crawl up a wall backwards in the hospital.
Oh,
Yeah. And the lady quit her job, the child protection worker or whatever she is. She quit her job after that. She was like, I had to quit. They interviewed her. So things like that happen. I don't know. Yeah.
I think they do happen. I imagine there's a lot of creepy activity that goes on late night at some of these hospitals too, especially like down in the morgue area.
Yes.
That'd be a good one for Kristen. I know she's always busy working. I bet she's got a bunch of tales over there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I believe she's told us stories before about watching the CCTV cameras and seeing ghosts, stuff like that on them. So she works she's an ER nurse.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Kristen has some stories. She's got some stories of her own, actually. So, yeah, Kristen would be awesome to have on for a spooky show.
I'd love to, but she's always
she's busy working. At those haunted hospitals, right?
Yeah. We had, where I live on Michigan Avenue, there's a place called Eloise. I think there's even a documentary out on it where friends of mine went ghost hunting over there. It was an insane asylum, which is now tore down, but you can still, you can't get in there. You can, if you're very, how shall I say, intuitive or have got some engineering background, you can find your way into these tunnels.
Yeah.
Friend of mine, they did some ghost hunting down there about a few years back. And they got down underneath in these tunnels underneath this insane asylum. And just like you would see on TV, there was actually like gurneys dispersed in this hallway and old equipment. And they started firing off pictures and taking some video. And then a security was moseying around and busted them, and they got a fine and blah, blah, blah. And so the next night or the next day when they were, I don't know if they went to jail or what the case may be, but they were detained. So they start going over these pictures, and in the background there were, they didn't see anything when they were there. Thought it was no big deal, but there's a lot of in the background images. A lot of these photos, there was like you could see ghostly apparitions in the background caught on these photographs, which is very creepy.
Wow. That reminds me of that picture that Randy had on his background for who's with Texas Front Porch. He has a background picture of an actual ghost in that Amityville horror house of a little boy looking out of a doorway. So,
yes.
You can catch stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely, you can, Jessica. And you know what? This hour went by. We were not doing the hour and a half show today, guys, because there's things we got to do. Jessica's got to do her thing. I got to do my thing, and we didn't have a guest. And I tell you what, unless you want to go further, I think that might be a good note to end it on. And thank you very much for coming on, Jess.
Oh, thanks for having me. Anytime. It's always fun.
Thank you to everybody out in chat. And again, you guys, if you see that video from my buddy Larry, well, not my buddy, he really appreciates everything you guys, the support you're giving him on the views and the comments for him. Because I tell you what, the guy really is down. I'm looking at my phone right now. He's got like 7 new emails I got in the past since we've been doing this show. So apparently you guys are out there giving him some love, and please continue to do so, because losing a pet, Jessica, especially that violent way that he lost last June, is terrible. This is the last we're going to talk about this, because I don't want to be overindulgent with it. But Larry, I'm sorry. I just see Jim out there. I'm looking at the chat here. Hi, Jim. Beyond Jim Skin. Hi, how you doing? Larry, we're praying for you, brother. Hoping you get through Halloween. Okay. Jessica Jones, where can we find you?
Oh my gosh. Well, you can find me on my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. I'm there just about every day to put out a video. And also on my website, thecryptidhuntress.com. I do have a show tomorrow with Tanya Braddock. We have both remote viewed the Salem witch trials, and we're going to be doing a show about that
Oh yeah,
tomorrow night at
I'll get.
9 Eastern.
And you're
Yeah.
all great. And you also
Yeah.
got your weekend spaced out radio gig.
Space Out Radio. I got the Horror Chronicles podcast coming on Saturday with JT and Ryan. And then on Sunday, I have Dennis Carroll coming back. We're going to be talking about grave robbers and reanimated corpses and voodoo and all that kind of weird
All
stuff. So,
sorts of great stuff. And don't forget,
yeah.
thanks, Jessica, my beautiful co-host. Till
Thank
Texas
you.
gets back next year. Mondays, Texas Front Porch, 7:30 in the East. Tuesdays, Beyond the BMR, my new show, 9 in the East. Wednesdays, Jason McLean Questions Everything is at 10 in the East. Thursdays, right here, Brunch with Bigfoot Rob and Jessica, 1 in the East. Serial Papers tonight, 10 in the East with Jason. And, of course, the lovely, the talented Remote Viewing with Jessica Jones every Friday, 9 in the East. Everybody, subscribe to our channels. Jessica Jones, The Cryptid Huntress, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, Jason's channel, Serial Papers, Texas Front Porch, and, of course, Bob Van Buren Variety. He picked up quite a few views the other day. He had a great show talking to Sandra Pink about paranormal. Great show for Bobby. I'm happy for him. Thank you, everybody, once again. Until next week, BMR and Jessica Jones, we're signing out. Have a great holiday. Have a great weekend.
Bye, y'all.
Oh, I forgot. I got ahead of myself. I got to find the exit. Oh, well, there's not going to be any music.